Welcome to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where titles are won, legends are made, and fields are named after them. Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium, home of the Alabama Crimson Tide. And boy, do we have a fun one ahead. Top 10 team, target on their back, going on their road and right into the snake pit. As we'll see the number 4 team in the country, the Ohio State Buckeyes, taking on the 15th ranked team in the land, the Alabama Crimson Tide. For EA Sports College Football, Reese Davis with you alongside David Pollack and Jesse Palmer. And guys, can't wait to get this one started. Buckeyes will get us underway with the opening kickoff. He'll bring it out. It's Henderson. That is a decision he will likely regret. He brings it out of the end zone and he's knocked down at the 10. Offense in a bunch formation. From the gun, running back on the move. Hammers ahead for a yard out to the 12. Alabama quickly back to the line. To the air, it's Milroe. The sweet feet keeping the play alive. He makes the catch. Still running at the 40. They'll move the chains after he gets it to the 43-yard line. That last chunk play is one that'll really put a drive on the move. It's 1st and 10 from the 43. He's going to pass. Coming after him. Getting some heat. Oh, it's out.
Let's go.
Coming up with a huge total recovery.
And he was under so much stress on that play. You saw him scrambling, trying to buy time, doing everything he can to keep the play alive. But the defense just kept coming in waves, and he got a little bit downfield before they finally knocked it out and jumped on that fun.
Are you blissing? Oh, you blissing? Oh, okay.
I love the job here by the linebacker. He just kind of shuffling. He's waiting to see
blissing.
Football. Not able to snag it out of the air, but hey,
and the incompletion brings up a second down. He's looking to throw.
Down. What? Oh my!
And he's brought down.
Caught that.
But not before putting his offense in business.
Are you blissing? Oh. I took to play that game though. Oh, but blissing. Let's see you again.
Big play for this defense early.
And he's brought down after a nice game. 1st and 10.
I can't really play back.
Wide out in motion. They'll give it to the back.
Don't sit down.
Run on that when he loses 4 on the carry. Couldn't get him blocked on that last one. Now it's 2nd and 14. Back to throw. It's Milroe. Safe completion on the screen. They make the stop, but not before he takes a chunk out of what they need to move the sticks.
And when you run straight, it's important that
you need to stop.
Buy time. So you can get those linemen out in front and try to really set up the screen. He bought time to the last possible minute. He took it on the kisser, but made the
He took a hit. He couldn't deliver the
pressure on that quarterback, man. Let's stop
this
to it.
Seriously not going
Yeah,
buddy.
buddy.
His own end zone. I mean,
He
he does have
man.
a punter, doesn't he? They're trying to get to it. Moves away as he feels pressure.
Oh,
And the quarterback is snowed under.
oh,
And I tell you what, I can justify when it's really short, but when it's 4th and medium,
put a stop to it, Cole.
man, that success rate continues to plummet down, and now they've just set this offense up in really good position.
the play fake on first down.
Ooh, listen, bro.
The Buckeyes want to crank the tempo.
This defense, they are tenacious, and they've got guys up front that are athletic and that are so strong and can collapse the pocket. You saw it right there in that play action attempt.
Let's go.
And
Oh.
and he runs it in for the score. Touchdown, Buckeyes.
Stop playing. Get out there.
What it needed to do, getting the ball in field position like that.
It's that killer mentality. You step on their throat, you keep your foot down. You get opportunities
Stop trying
like
to
that.
chill, man. That ain't gonna work.
The offense took care of business.
Oh, don't. Give me, buddy.
About to kick it away.
Oh, you ain't gonna see that. You ain't gonna see that, huh? Foot. Run that ball. Run that ball.
And he's going to bring it out. Stopped at the 17, and he's probably second-guessing that return.
Let me tell you something.
The Tide offense rolls onto the field. They were really aggressive going for it in their own end last time. It put them in a tough spot, David.
Yeah, aggressive.
He's really a big
this offense to really be productive. Last possession they went for the roll the dice,
You got me.
and it didn't work out for them.
Yeah, if you're better on third down moving forward, though, you can keep yourself out of those situations.
And
Oh, what
now
is he
going on
doing?
now. Just got rid of it and lives to play
Those
another down.
balls.
They couldn't connect on second down. Now staring at a 3rd and 9. Dropping back, it's Milrow. Pocket starts to collapse.
Let's go.
That pass not closes. He got drilled trying to deliver it.
I'm back on defense.
Referee signals
Yeah,
timeout as the
buddy.
defense wanting to make sure that they have everything just right with a big play coming.
No. I know you can do that.
They were unfazed by that earlier 4th down failure and will try for a second time in this one. Excellent job working through the air. They're finding a hole in that defense and picking up a first down. Here's this offense with a fresh set of downs. They're bringing heat. Moving away from pressure. He's going to run it. They get him down after the scramble, but he's able to pick up a few and turn it into a positive play. On second down, wants to throw it. Quarterback doing what he does best. He can move. At the 45 on his way.
Yeah, you better slide.
Gets down to avoid contact.
You better slide. Come on, move.
They're about to run a dirty half-dozen plays on this drive. Pre-snap motion, quarterback trying to get a read. Caught in the backfield, it's Haynes. At the 35, he's open. And he'll haul it in and take it to the end zone. Touchdown Tide.
And what a nice start for this offense. The throw game, getting working, getting the touchdown pass. This quarterback getting a little bit of confidence. This passing game getting in a rhythm. Nice start for this offense.
Idiot.
And they'll try to tack on 2.
Let's try that, y'all. Dummy. You big dummy. You big dummy.
Looking to pass. It's Milrow. Got his man on the outside. He goes in, he's in there.
We handle decent, y'all.
So a scoring drive there of 83 yards. And they finish with a big play. A touchdown.
Bro, what is this, bro?
46. They already
Yeah,
have the
I
lead.
thought
They
it picked
apparently
up, bro.
want more here in the first half, going for the onside kick.
Outside bull jump. Bro, what is this? This is outside kick.
Buckeyes roll that offense back out there. And David, how they would love to stick it in the end zone one more time after that last drive.
And once you get the defense on the
fire that thing. Hold on.
You get a little bit of rhythm.
Still a
really hard to stop, Jesse, and they're going to try to do it again right here.
And if you're this play caller, you're loving what's happening right now because everything you dialed up on that last drive ended up working out. You're just looking at your play sheet. Everything you're picking is working. Let's see if they can pull it off again here.
Picked up 2 yards on that last one. They need 8 on second down. He's looking to throw. A shot toward the end zone. And that ball was in harm's way, and he is lucky to get that one back.
Love the effort by the defender here. The offense is trying to throw a lob pass into the end zone and high point it for a touchdown, but the defender had perfect body position. He just needs to finish the play and come up with the interception.
On 3rd and long, he has to throw for it. Takes a hit as he fires.
Bro, come on.
That pass is well off.
I want no field goal.
What's wrong for it? And they can't convert on 3rd down.
Tell you what, I don't know if the offense was expecting man coverage that time.
That's
the range. You're expecting it to be zone. Instead, they lock them up man-to-man. Everybody on an island. Everybody won.
All that missing trap ain't gonna work. Go get it, go get it. Let's go. Touchdown, please.
And man, is that perfect time. The quarterback drops back, he sees his guy, and he knows he's open, but watch the throw. Deep down the field, Palmer, right in the breadbasket. Nice play, nice pitch and catch.
He did a nice job of getting it up in the air early, allowing his guy to run under the football, locate it, and then make a tough grab. That is the definition of an explosive play.
And the extra point is good, and the lead is 6. Almost ready to kick it away after scoring a touchdown. Balls it in inside his 20, and here he comes.
What?
Maybe if he could have eluded just 1 or 2 more guys, it would have been a big return, but they'll mark it at the 30. First down here with time for maybe 1 more play until a 2-minute warning.
You know.
He'll ride his man on the option.
Oh, fumble. Let's go. Let's go.
Once that ball was loose, offense didn't have a chance. Defenders everywhere. It's a turnover.
I'll tell you, honestly, I don't know what that player could have done to hold on to that football. That defender absolutely popped him. He knocked him into next week. There was no chance he was holding on to that ball.
Oh, my God.
And he was drilled.
This is too much for me.
The pass, it's incomplete. We've reached the 2-minute warning, and we'll see if the offense can build on this lead before the break.
You've been listening the whole game, not getting nowhere with it. It's strange, man.
Now on
the ball talking distance nigga going, bro. It's still blitzing.
It's Howard. Fires deep toward the end zone. Pass on the way. It's picked off. And the senior just snatched the ball out of the air and gave it back to his offense.
This is obviously not a great start for this quarterback here. 2 interceptions already in this game. He's got to do a much better job of decision.
Here comes
now I'm about to let him to see balls.
They put it on the ground last time. They had to take care of this time.
I think
you got to put in context. A lot of times it's just luck. You just got to move on, give him the football again, Jesse, and not worry about it.
I think that's a good point there, David. Get him the ball again to help him play the next play.
Let's just stop to it, fellas.
Because when that guy's playing well, this
offense
is
good.
Wants to throw on 1st down. Flushed out of the pocket. Unleashes one.
What?
Lost the defense is wide open. They've got the defense reeling right now. That big play to the 29. This offense always looking for those big, explosive plays, and now they've got it just inside the 30. Here comes the option. The pitch. Not a whole lot of progress made there.
All right, doing the play actually jump off. But what is this?
Second down, clock's running.
Yeah, stop this.
He's got it on the
all
right.
Right, bro.
One one of the reasons this offense is so exciting to watch. They've got guys that are dangerous after the catch. And if this quarterback gets through his progression, David, he hits you in stride, these guys will take it to the house. Man, it's your job to do the rest, right? You hit me in.
It's a fake, and the kicker's going to throw it. That one never had a chance. Incomplete. Surely they're going to kick this thing away.
It's like outside kick, bro.
Lined up for an onside kick. They're on it. They recover the onside kick, and they get it right.
Bro, what are you doing, bro? Y'all moving the ball and get the ball back, bro.
They're trying to steal possessions. We're only in the first half. You don't see a lot of onside kicks at this point of the game, but they roll the dice and they get it, and they're trying to score more points.
They make the stop.
It's
a little bit of time to get to that first down mark. Offense, quick tempo.
Outside kicks. Man, look at the kid, man. So, the kid does, huh?
Got it behind the line. It's Haynes. Crosses the 30. He's got away.
The kid,
He's run out of bounds, but not before turning in a big pickup and moving the sticks for a first down. Pre-snap motion in the backfield. Grabbed behind the line. It's Haynes. Got some room, headed to the goal line. Touchdown, Crimson Tide. Then they add 6 more to the board with that trip to the house. Why not double the try total and go for 2? They'll try to power it in. Into the end zone for the 2, and they push that lead out to 8. Quick strike offense on that 3-play scoring drive. And they finish things off with a 21-yard touchdown pass. They want to get the ball right back here in the first half. They've got the lead and going for the onside kick. Few anxious moments there, but the hands team true to its name as they make the grab and get the ball.
And you don't see a lot of these. You don't see a lot of onside kicks earlier in the game, especially in the second quarter. You still feel each other out. You're still getting into the game. You don't want to give away that momentum, but that's exactly what they did by failing on that onside kick.
Here comes the Ohio State offense onto the field. Mistakes are going to happen as they did on that last drive. Now, how will they respond, Jesse?
And this is the kind of guy who's going to take full accountability. That was my bad. That's on me. I'm about to lead this offense now down the field to score some points.
Dang, Palmer, I wish I would have played with you. I didn't play with many quarterbacks that were just like, yeah, my bad. Hey, guys, I got this. Sorry about that. It was more, should have ran a better route.
Got stuffed on first down. It's 2nd and 10. Back to pass. It's Howard. Quick strike complete. He's brought down. Solid pickup, but a little bit short of the first down. Ready to start the second half. Alabama will kick it off. On the run from inside his own 5. Really disciplined job by the coverage unit to get down there and make the stop at the 19. The Buckeyes roll that offense back out there. Tight game as we start the third quarter, and we'll see what type of adjustments they made at halftime.
And getting the ball first here, I think is such a big deal.
Listen,
first chance to make a statement, to make the adjustments, to create some momentum for the squad right here.
Yeah, I think it's so important for this offense to set the tone here early in the second half to get a nice.
He's going to let one fly down the middle. And he is
my God.
Defenders all over the field. His 3rd interception
This is
today.
fun, man.
Well, the quarterback on that one.
What about this one?
The problem is it gave the defender time to get his head around and locate it. And because of that, was able to come away with the interception.
First play of this drive comes from the 35-yard line. Trying to get the corner. Nice move to keep moving. And he goes out of bounds after coming up with positive yardage there. Alabama pushing the tempo. They'll go to the toss. Stops at the 47-yard line, a 10-yard gain, and they'll move the marker from the 47-yard line on 1st and 10. To the air, it's Milroe. Feeling some heat. The quarterback can make a big play when he starts moving around. Dances away from one. And he runs through one tackle and picks up a few. Offense in the hurry up. Movement on the offense, and they'll lose 5 yards on the penalty. So the decision has been made, and the coach will take the penalty. Bunch formation, trying to spring a guy free. Looking to throw on 2nd down. Got it set up on the outside. And he never had a chance. As soon as he caught it, the defense was right there. On 3rd and long, try to convert through the air. How about that play to get a hand in there and force the incompletion? 1 for 2 on 4th down attempts so far, and we will get a 3rd attempt here. He'll try to throw and pick up the 1st down. Quarterback moving.
So
the incomplete pass makes this series end in frustration as they turn it over on down.
And sometimes the best defense is getting a little bit lucky. He was open. He had a chance to make a play. He just drops it through his hand. It was pretty good defense, but you take those breaks when you can get them.
The toss to the outside.
He's
dropped behind the line of scrimmage. That'll be a loss of 3.
Well, the defense had the perfect play call on there. Offense trying to go toss and defense dialed up the corner blitz. Perfect play for the perfect moment to get the tackle for loss.
Not what they had in mind to start this drive. Here comes 2nd and 13. Stands in and takes the hit. Another interception.
Bro, anyway.
A return there would have just been icing on the cake. They'll just have to settle for the cake at the 23.
That really wasn't his best throw. I tell you what, you got to choose when you're going to zip it in there and sometimes put some air underneath it. He chose the wrong one, put a little too much air underneath it. Defensive player makes the nice pick.
The Tide offense rolls onto the field. These last couple of drives, Jesse, have been about the defense making clutch stand.
I think for this offense, they can stay aggressive knowing that their defense is going to bail them out time and time again.
Yeah, and especially when you go for those 4th down situations, you do that a lot of times because you know your defense can make stands, make stops. They did on that last possession for you.
We'll see if they can dig one up that goes forward this time on 2nd down from the 18.
come on, pick that off. That'd been good. That'd been good right there.
Back to the line. On 3rd and long, no secret what he needs here. Floating away. Quickly out to the tight end. They didn't quite get that route run deep enough to pick up the 1st down. Now they've got a 4th and short.
And I think everybody at home tends to yell at their television set. Why aren't you getting past the 1st down marker? Why did you run your route short? Defense did a good job knowing where that was. But now, 4th down, offense has to make a decision.
Makes the grab.
That's it. We could go.
And he's knocked down immediately, but not before he moves the chains. He wants to throw. Now he's going to glide away from pressure. And it's knocked away, incomplete, and that that's how we'll wrap up the third quarter.
That's the end of the third quarter. With the score now at 22, Ohio State 14.
Second down here as they go back to work after the break. Motion from the offense. On the move. Pretty good effort on that one to work his way up to the 42. Ball is at the 42-yard line, close to 4-down territory. Here's third and short. Quick touch pass to the receiver. Makes a man miss. And he's brought to the ground, but not before he gets enough for the first down. After picking up a couple of first downs already on this drive, they'll snap it from close to midfield. Looking downfield, it's Milrow. And he was hit just as he was releasing the pass, and it falls to the ground incomplete.
Yeah, and you don't see very many quarterback hits on screens. You know, the offense wants to bluff real quick and make it look like pass, and the quarterback's supposed to pop up, look like pass, and quickly get rid of it. You could tell timing all wrong. It was all jacked up, and that play went.
And the pressure gets to him. Down goes the quarterback.
I just got that feeling now, boy.
Coming up, but this
Well,
one will be
blitz,
tough.
I'll blitz too, what's up? So you need to dish your own medicine, boy.
To give as they work on that clock. He is
Yeah, give me on Texas on medicine.
line of scrimmage. It's fourth down now.
Oh, you ready for that, bro? I ain't worried about it.
2-minute warning.
You Texas on medicine.
We have arrived at the 2-minute warning. A one-possession
Yeah,
game
that's all
as this
Texas
offense tries
medicine,
to
man.
hold on.
Want a blitz? Let's blitz, get home, boy. You Texas on medicine, man. Yeah.
They have the lead in the
You
one-possession
way
game,
from
but
like
they're
that,
thinking
bro.
to
You
deliver
gonna
the
make it up,
knockout
bro.
blow, but this carries big-time risk on fourth down. He'll try to throw and pick up the first down. Going over the top.
Just forget it, bro. Told you,
They
man.
desperately
Hey,
needed
it's
to
my
keep
turn,
that
so.
drive going, and they couldn't make
It's
the
my
connection.
turn, but
What a great stop by this defense. Way to bow your neck. Now you got a chance to give the offense the football back, go out, try to make something happen late in this game, and maybe walk away with a victory.
yeah, we did this touchdown, y'all. This one, y'all, man. Got shit leg, y'all.
After picking up a couple at 2nd and 8. They think there's room to run to the right here. He steps out of bounds, but he's got enough for a first down.
Well, the offense knew what they needed to get that first down, so they dial up the running play and they get just
He's
enough to keep
that
the drive
right
alive.
here.
Maybe this will breathe a little life into this offense, which has been flatlined in the second half. Here's 1st and 10. Fires to the wideout. And
How?
his 5th
Oh,
interception
my
of the game. A miracle they haven't pulled him yet. And they'll close
Bro,
in
ain't
on
no
him
way.
after a good return
You know,
on
let
the
him throw a pick
interception.
up like this.
It's such a fine line offensively. Late in the game, you've got to score, you've got to make big plays, but you can't turn the football over. Big time mistake. This one might cost him.
Well, he got some good defense, man.
Looking for a crease. It's Haynes. And this one will be stopped for no gain.
How about the defender being a heat-seeking missile? He was on radar lock. He found the football and flew down with some bad intentions.
Trying to impose their will with the run. Fighting off the defender.
Listen, you got to be able to know what play to call and what hole to go through. Like the line blocks for a certain hole. Good job getting through the hole, getting what was blocked, getting a nice positive gain, making your situation really good on the next down.
It'll be a run on 3rd and short. Sometimes it's just not your day. Things just didn't work, and that seemed to be the case here.
Yeah, they didn't get the W. They didn't do enough. But now you start to think about what could I have done differently? What do I need to become more offensively? Defensively, what can I morph into to make those extra plays, Jesse? That might be the difference in the next game that I play.
Yeah, David, they just need a little bit more. They need a little bit better effort next week. They're going to need better preparation this week in practice. There's no doubt this team has a lot of talent, but we just need a little bit more to ensure that this doesn't happen next week.
So that's going to do it for us. For Jesse Palmer, David Pollack, I'm Reese Davis saying so long. This has been another presentation of EA Sports College Football.